Once upon a time, there lived a respected family of four in Lagos, Mr. and Mrs. Adeleke, and their two handsome twin sons, Adeyemi and Adewale. Though they were twins and both 35 years old, anyone who saw them could tell they were very different, not in looks alone, but in character, art, and destiny. Adeyemi Adeleke, the first twin, was tall and strongly built. His face was sharp and commanding, with piercing eyes that made people uncomfortable whenever he stared at them. His jawline was firm, his beard always neatly trimmed, and he dressed in expensive suits that announced power and wealth even before he spoke. Adeyemi was handsome, no doubt, but his handsomeness was cold, like a polished stone with no warmth. He was authoritative, proud, and self-centered. Adeyemi owned a successful automobile company called Adeyemi Cars Lot, located in Lagos. He hardly spoke to people, and when he did, his voice was harsh and commanding. His staff worked in fear. No one dared joke around him or come close unless strictly necessary. To them, Adeyemi was a boss to be feared, not loved. Despite his wealth and good looks, Adeyemi had no wife, no girlfriend, and not even a female friend. Love was something he did not understand, or maybe something he had rejected. The only person close to him was Akin, his childhood friend who had known him long enough to tolerate his rough ways. On the other hand was Adewale Adeleke, his twin brother. Adewale was also very handsome, but in a softer, more inviting way. He had warm brown eyes that smiled even before his lips did. His face carried peace, kindness, and sincerity. His voice was calm, and his smile could melt even the hardest heart. Wherever Adewale went, people felt safe and happy around him. Adewale was God-fearing, kind, loving, and gentle. He owned a successful computer and phone company where he sold all kinds of laptops, phones, and accessories. His staff loved him dearly. They smiled whenever they talked about him, often saying they were lucky to have such a kind and understanding boss. God really blessed us with a good man, they would say. But what many did not know was the silent jealousy burning in Adeyemi's heart. Whenever the twins went out together, Adewale was always the center of attention. Ladies smiled at him, greeted him warmly, and sometimes even found excuses to start conversations with him. Adewale never tried to attract attention. It simply followed him. Adeyemi noticed everything. No matter how expensive his clothes were or how powerful he looked, he was always ignored. The women barely noticed him, and each time it happened, his heart tightened with envy and bitterness. How can I have everything? Money, power, success, and still be unseen? He often wondered silently. One day, Adewale attended the grand birthday celebration of their father's close friend, Chief Adeniyi. The party was nothing short of luxury. The venue was beautifully decorated, music filled the air, the tables were loaded with different kinds of delicious food and drinks. In the center of it all stood an elegant birthday cake, tall, well-designed and inviting. As the celebration reached its peak, the master of ceremonies announced that the baker of the beautiful cake should come forward and introduce herself. A moment later, a young woman stepped out from the crowd. Her name was Bewaji. She walked gracefully, dressed in a red flowing gown that hugged her figure perfectly. The dress moved gently with each step she took, drawing the eyes of everyone present. Her long silky hair flowed freely down her back, shining softly under the bright lights. Her skin glowed with polished bronze, and her face carried a natural beauty, calm, confident, and captivating. Her lips coiled into a gentle smile, and her eyes held a quiet elegance that spoke of humility and grace. When she took the microphone, they all went silent. She held it with poise and spoke softly but clearly. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bewaji, the baker of today's birthday cake. They all erupted into applause. Even Adewale found himself clapping, and in that moment, he felt something strange, powerful feeling. It was love at first sight. After the party ended, Adewale could not resist. He walked up to Bewaji with his usual warm smile and gentle confidence. "Good evening," he said politely. "I am Adewale. I just want to say, the cake was amazing. It tasted even better than it looked." Bewaji smiled, clearly pleased. They spoke briefly, and before parting, Adewale collected her number, promising to keep in touch. On the 25th of that month, it was Mrs. Adeleke's birthday. Adeyemi, who was rarely available for anything outside business, suddenly felt the need to do something special for his mother. While scrolling through the internet in search of a unique and elegant cake, he came across a page called Bewaji's Cake and Cream. The designs caught his attention immediately. He scrolled through the samples, neat finishing, creativity, and excellence written all over them. Without hesitation, he decided to book a session. He contacted Bewaji and an appointment was fixed for a Saturday evening. They agreed to meet at a quiet restaurant to discuss the cake details. When the time came, Adeyemi arrived early. Moments later, a Toyota Camry pulled into the parking lot. As Bewaji stepped out of the car, Adeyemi froze. For a man who hardly noticed anyone, he noticed her deeply. She wore a simple but elegant blue outfit that highlighted her natural beauty. Her skin glowed softly. Her walk was graceful and her calm presence filled the space around her. There was nothing forced about her beauty. It was pure, natural and captivating. Adeyemi felt his heart skip. It was love at first sight. For a moment, he almost forgot why they were meeting. When he finally spoke, his usual firm and commanding voice softened. "Good evening," he said gently. Bewaji responded with grace and poise, her voice calm and respectful. They sat down, went through a few cake catalogs, discussed designs, flavors, and delivery details, and soon reached an agreement. The meeting was simple, but something had changed. As Bewaji walked away that evening, Adeyemi remained seated, lost in thought. From that day on, Adeyemi's life never remained the same. The powerful businessman had just encountered the one thing he never planned for: love. All through the night, Adeyemi's mind raced back to Bewaji. Her smile, her voice, the elegance with which she carried herself. For the first time in years, his heart felt restless. When the birthday celebration finally arrived, the entire house was beautifully decorated, filled with joy and laughter. The moment Bewaji's cake was unveiled, everyone gasped in admiration. It was elegant, colorful, and perfectly crafted. Adewale was shocked and stunned. He recognized the style immediately. After the celebration, Adewale began calling Bewaji more often, checking on her, encouraging her, and showing genuine interest in her life. But Adeyemi knew nothing about love. To him, love was not patient, care, or present. He believed any woman could be bought with money, gift, and grand gestures. Emotions were weaknesses he never learned to understand. Meanwhile, Adeyemi remained distant and unavailable. He rarely called. Days would pass without a message. His life revolved around business alone. One car imported today, another container arriving the next day. Meetings, contracts, and profits filled his time. He was so engrossed in work that he hardly had time for Bewaji. Instead of presents, he sent money. Instead of care, he sent gifts. Instead of love, he paid bills. Bewaji received the packages, the transfers, and the surprises, but her heart felt empty. She needed attention, conversation, and warmth, not just an expensive gestures. One day, Bewaji sat in her bedroom thinking aloud to herself. Why are both men so interested in me? She often asked herself. Though Adeyemi's generosity impressed her, Adewale's kindness touched her heart. Whenever she was tired or discouraged, it was Adewale's voice that brought her peace. Without realizing it, she began to smile whenever his name appeared on her phone. Slowly, unknowingly, Bewaji was falling in love with Adewale. One evening, Adewale invited her out for a simple dinner. There were no grand displays, just laughter, honest conversation, and gentle moments. As he spoke about his faith, his love for family, and his respect for women, Bewaji felt something settle firmly in her heart. This is the kind of man I prayed for. She thought silently. Unknown to Bewaji, the two men competing for her heart were brothers, and unknown to the brothers, they had fallen for the same woman, and their love for one woman was slowly setting them on a dangerous path, one that would test blood, loyalty, and destiny. One day, Mr. and Mrs. Adeleke invited both sons for a family dinner. In the middle of the conversation, Mrs. Adeleke smiled and said casually, "So, Adewale, the baker you keep talking about, what was her name again?" "Bewaji ma," Adewale replied happily. Adeyemi froze. The spoon slipped from his hand. "You know her?" Mrs. Adeleke asked, surprised. Before Adewale could answer, Adeyemi stood up. "I know her too," he said sharply. "She's the one who made your birthday cake." Silence filled the room. Adewale turned slowly to his brother. "Wait, you're talking about the same Bewaji?" Their eyes locked. The truth hit them like thunder. "You've been seeing her?" Adewale asked. "Yes," Adeyemi replied coldly, "and I am serious about her." "So am I," Adewale said firmly. Voices rose. Anger exploded. Words flew like arrows. "She's not a property to be bought with gifts," Adewale shouted. "And love doesn't pay bills. What the hell do you think you are? Must you always have the best of things? What do you have that I don't have? Tell me." Adeyemi fired back. Mr. Adeleke slammed his hand on the table. "Enough!" But the damage was already done. That night, brother stood against brother, and jealousy finally turned into hatred. Adeyemi's heart hardened and his mind began to plot. If he couldn't have Bewaji, no one else would, not even his own blood. And far away, Bewaji sat in her room, unaware that the love she was walking into was about to tear a family apart. Adeyemi's heart was no longer at peace. The love he felt for Bewaji had turned into an obsession, dark, controlling and dangerous. He hated how her eyes lit up whenever Adewale called. He hated the calm confidence his brother carried. Most of all, he hated the fear growing inside him, the fear of losing. Slowly, Adeyemi's true nature began to show. His calls to Bewaji changed. His voice became demanding. "Why didn't you answer my call?" he would ask harshly. "Where were you? Why are you always busy when I call?" At first, Bewaji tried to excuse his behavior, thinking he was just protective, but one evening his anger shocked her. "You should be grateful, Bewaji," Adeyemi snapped. "Do you know how much I've spent on you?" Bewaji went quiet. Fear crept into her heart. That night, Adewale visited Bewaji, and the first thing he noticed was the sadness on her face as he gently asked what was wrong. She told him everything. He listened quietly, his heart heavy. "Bewaji," he said softly, "there is something you need to know." Her heart skipped. "Adeyemi and I, we are brothers. I mean, twins." Bewaji felt the words spin around her. "Brothers?" she whispered. Tears filled her eyes as the truth settled. The gift, the competition, the tension, it all made sense now. She felt confused, betrayed and afraid. "I didn't know," she said shakily. "I swear, I didn't know." Adewale held Bewaji closely and whispered, "Don't worry, everything will be sorted out, I promise." The next morning, Bewaji noticed strange movements in her compound. She saw unfamiliar faces lingering around, pretending to make phone calls. Yet, watching her closely, fear gripped her heart. She quickly called Adewale. "Please, can you come over? I think someone is watching me. I am scared." Without thinking twice, Adewale drove straight to her house. When he arrived and saw the fear in her eyes, his heart ached. He packed her things and took her to his place. "You will stay with me for now," he assured her. "You are safe here." While Bewaji stayed with him, Adewale proved himself a true gentleman. He cooked for her, cleaned the house and took care of everything. He never crossed boundaries or made her uncomfortable. He respected her completely. This kindness melted Bewaji's heart. Slowly, her admiration turned into deep love, and soon they officially started dating. Adewale later took Bewaji to his parents and introduced her properly. Mr. and Mrs. Adeleke were overjoyed. They welcomed her warmly and immediately loved her. Everyone was happy except Adeyemi. He refused to come to his parents' house for the formal introduction. Soon after, A date was fixed for their traditional marriage and wedding. Adeyemi's heart burned with bitterness. Why does my twin always get the best thing? He muttered angrily. Love, respect, happiness, and I have nothing. That night, sleep completely left him. He tossed on his bed, his mind filled with dark thoughts. If I can't have Bewaji, he whispered, then nobody else will. Suddenly, a dangerous idea entered his mind. What if I kidnap her on their wedding day and have her killed? The thought thrilled his twisted heart. The next day, Adeyemi secretly contacted a dangerous assassination gang. He sent them Bewaji's picture, gave them the wedding date and location, and instructed them to kidnap and kill her. Days before the wedding, Adewale had a terrible dream. He saw his bride shot and killed on their wedding day. He woke up sweating, his heart pounding violently. He knew instantly this was a warning. That same morning, he went to the police station and requested private armed security officers, explaining his fears and hinting at his brother's cruelty. On the wedding day, the hall was beautifully decorated. Food and drinks were in abundance. Music filled the air. Bewaji looked stunning in a white wedding dress, glowing with joy. Standing beside her on the altar, Adewale's heart overflowed with gratitude. Their joy knew no bounds. Suddenly, gunshots rang outside the hall. Panic erupted. Guests screamed and ran for their lives. 4 armed men stormed into the hall and headed straight for Bewaji. As they reached for her, the private officer swung into action. Gunshots echoed again. Within minutes, the attackers were overpowered, disarmed, and arrested. Under interrogation, the men confessed everything. It was Adeyemi and Adewale. One of them said, he hired us to kidnap and kill the bride. Shock filled the police station. Mr. and Mrs. Adewale were shattered to the bone. How can our son be this heartless? Mrs. Adewale cried bitterly. Adeyemi was immediately arrested, arraigned in court and charged with conspiracy to commit attempted murder. After a full trial, Adeyemi was found guilty. The judge slammed the gavel and declared, Mr. Adeyemi and Adewale, for your wicked actions and total disregard for human life, this court sentences you to 35 years imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Adeyemi broke down in court, but it was too late. Jealousy had destroyed him. After the court hearing, Bewaji and Adewale returned to their lives with a deep sense of peace. Though the scars of fear still lingered in their hearts, they were grateful to God that the darkest storm had passed. They held each other closer, knowing that together they had overcome their greatest fear. Their home was filled with laughter, love, and quiet prayers of thanksgiving. Each morning felt like a fresh gift, and every night ended with gratitude. A few months later, God crowned their love with double joy. Bewaji gave birth to elder twin babies, a boy and a girl. The news spread like wildfire, and happiness flooded the Adewale family once again. Mrs. Adewale traveled immediately to stay with the new parents and help care for the twins. Seeing her grandchildren filled her heart with overwhelming joy. Tears of happiness flowed freely as she held them close. Our sorrow has turned into joy, she whispered. Bewaji and Adewale watched their children sleep peacefully and held hands in silence, their hearts full. Their joy knew no bounds, for love had won, faith had spoken, and God had restored everything the enemy tried to destroy. And so the family that almost broke was made whole again, stronger, wiser, and forever grateful. The moral lesson of the story is that jealousy destroys what love builds. When the heart chooses hatred over contentment, it invites ruin. But love, guided by patience, integrity, and faith, will always overcome evil. And in the end, truth and justice will prevail. The end.